Film Forum. I'm Steve Markos, and with me is Aron Siegel. We're down here for another exciting episode of the Film Forum.
Another thrilling episode, action-packed.
Yep, we'll be
full of surprises.
We'll be telling you about the latest news in the film industry, as well as reviewing some of the latest releases. And we have two movies this week as well. Aron, what are we going to review tonight?
Well, tonight, Steve, we've got Carlito's Way, and we've also got The Three Musketeers.
All right, sounds like two winners there. And then after that, we'll have our Critics' Choice this week. We're going to tell you about our favorite River Phoenix films in memory of River Phoenix, and then we'll be telling you about our guest. Aron, tell us about the guest.
Well, tonight, Steve, we have Geary Newman. He is a film composer, film score composer, and he does music for various films and television commercials and graphics and stuff. He'll be on later on the show.
All right, sounds like a winner. Now let's get on with the show because we got a lot to cover. What film do you want to start with, Aron?
I'll start with Carlito's Way.
All right, take it away.
This film is set in 1975. It involves Carlito Bugante, who's just finished serving 5 years of a 30-year sentence for drug trafficking, namely heroin. And Al Pacino plays Carlito Bugante, and he wants to come clean. He doesn't want to deal drugs anymore, so when he gets out of prison, he looks up his old girlfriend, played by Penelope Ann Miller, and he starts to run a nightclub. The problem is that his attorney wants him to pull one last job, and the last job ends up getting him back into trouble. What we have here now is a scene from Carlito's Way where Al Pacino and Penelope Ann Miller are discussing an issue. Here's our scene.
Surprise.
I was asleep.
Oh. Well, can I come in? I bought you some cheesecake.
I don't like cheesecake.
You wouldn't have buzzed me up, Gail, if you wasn't going to let me in.
I'm saying no, Charlie.
What can I do?
What are you going to do? Are you going to bust the chain? Chase me around the apartment? Get me naked? Take me on the floor?
I'm too old for that.
Oh, that's too bad. If you can't get in, you don't get in.
Ah!
Okay, that's a scene from Carlito's Way, which opened last Friday. It was directed by Brian De Palma and stars Al Pacino, Penelope Ann Miller, and Sean Penn. Excellent performances by Sean Penn. I also wanted to mention here that this is the first reunion with Al Pacino and Brian De Palma since Scarface. And I wanted to ask you, Steve, in your opinion, since you've seen Scarface, how do you feel about this?
Well, let me make another analogy before this starts off, and this will make sense in a second. Clint Eastwood is probably the actor that made the modern Western come to prominence that it has. Al Pacino is probably the actor most responsible for bringing the modern-day gangster film to prominence. Clint Eastwood's getting old. Al Pacino's getting old. Clint Eastwood made Unforgiven. Al Pacino's made Carlito's Way. And these two films are so similar, it's uncanny. And I can't believe a lot of people haven't picked up on that.
Actually, I didn't pick up on that. What I picked up on was Brian De Palma's film work. Because this is very similar to me. It's very similar to The Untouchables in the way the suspense works and in the way the staircase scene in Grand Central Station, all of that kind of action.
When I make this analogy to Unforgiven, both are starring actors that brought their respective genre to prominence. Both are getting old, and they make jokes about getting old, such as in this.
Right.
Both movies, I guess, are about two men who want to go straight and are brought back into the bad life by circumstances outside their control. But the worst comparison about this at all, and the reason I didn't like Unforgiven, is because there's no action in these films. Unforgiven was boring, had a great ending. This movie has an action scene at the beginning, action at the end. It's a long, drawn-out drama. I think anybody going to this film has to be disappointed because I think when you hear the words Al Pacino, Brian De Palma, gangster film, you're looking for Scarface. To answer your question, this is nothing like Scarface. Scarface was an action-packed gangster film. This is a gangster version of Unforgiven.
Well, something else that I wanted to mention here, this is also a reunion of Al Pacino and Martin Bregman, who produced Sea of Love and Serpico for Al Pacino. So I saw a lot of the similar qualities with this film as with other Al Pacino films. I didn't think it was as action-packed as, like you were saying, the Scarface was.
I was disappointed because of that.
Well, I was expecting classic Brian De Palma direction, and that's what I got. I did get that from the
when I see gangster and those ingredients, I'm looking for Scarface. And that's the reason I was bored with Unforgiven. The guy that went with me to Unforgiven fell asleep. 2 people in front of me fell asleep. The ending was fantastic in Unforgiven, a lot better than this ending. Carlito's Way is kind of mediocre all the way through, whereas Unforgiven was boring and then great. I like Carlito's Way better, but I was disappointed in it. I'm just going to go with an average 2 stars on this film.
I'm going to give the film 3 stars. I also like the setting. It was in 1975. We've got that disco, the 70s flashback coming out tonight on another network. But we've got all of this 70s nostalgia coming back in style. So I think that added to the film's charm.
So we're disagreeing a little bit here, but we give it, I guess that's 2.5 star average, which is a little bit above average, and that's on our 4-star system. So let's get on with our next film. Our next film came out last Friday as well. It's called The Three Musketeers. Stars Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, Oliver Platt, Chris O'Donnell, Tim Curry, and Rebecca De Mornay. The evil Cardinal Richelieu has disbanded the Musketeers, who are the king's personal bodyguards, and he has done so to make it easy so that he can kill off the king and regain or take over the throne of France. However, 3 renegade Musketeers refuse to relinquish their duties, and with the aid of Musketeer wannabe D'Artagnan, the 4 ride to the king's rescue and save the day. Let's take a look at some action from The Three Musketeers, Disney's latest release, and let's take a look at some of the swashbuckling that goes on here.
I think our young friend could use some help. Hold it.
All right, and that's the scene from The Three Musketeers that came out last week, a lighthearted action adventure. Aaron, what are your feelings on this film?
I love this film, Steve. I had no idea that the Musketeers were so much like King Arthur's knights until I had seen this film. I thought there were excellent performances by everyone, especially Chris O'Donnell as D'Artagnan, Tim Curry as the Cardinal. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of drama, and there's a lot of predictability, but it's in the places that kind of lead you on.
Yeah.
So,
well, to me, bottom line is I'm kind of sick and tired of wisecracking action adventures. I can't get into the action because I'm not on the edge of my seat because I know nothing bad is going to happen to these guys, and they're making jokes throughout the whole thing. And it's not that I didn't like the movie. I thought it was all right. I don't see anybody really loving it, doing somersaults and flips coming out of the theater, even though you might have done a cartwheel or two. But I don't see anybody hating the movie either. It's just, in my generation, the wisecracking action adventure started with Star Wars back in 1976. There's been thousands of them since, and I've just had it up to my eyeballs with them. They're just too cliche. That's 18 years of that type of film. And like I said, I just can't get into the action and the suspense when everybody's making jokes the whole time.
well, Steve, the action in The Three Musketeers goes back to the original, well, not the original, but the one previous to this that had Raquel Welch in it. There was still comedy. There was still wisecracking action in this.
When I was watching this film, I'll tell you what kept coming to my mind, and you mentioned King Arthur. I would wish someone would do a Three Musketeers film, an R-rated, serious, artistic drama that would bring the legend, make it the legend it is, because all I kept thinking was the marvelous job that John Borman did with the King Arthur legend in Excalibur, which was a very serious film. I would assume true to the book. I haven't read the book. Very artistic. When you get done watching Excalibur, you know why King Arthur was a legend. When you get done watching this, you just think these are a bunch of clowns, and you wonder what's so important about the Three Musketeers. I would just love to see a serious version of this for once. I'm just kind of tired of the wisecracking action adventures. Not only this movie, Demolition Man was one that came out.
What about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
I didn't care for that movie at all. I don't remember it.
See, I got a lot of reminders of subtle reminders of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with this film. The Tim Curry character is very similar to Alan Rickman.
Yeah, I would say the two films are similar. If you like one, you probably like the other. I'm going with 2 stars on this.
I'm going to give this one 3 stars as well.
So again, we're at 2.5 stars, a little bit above average on our 4-star system. That's what came out this last week. Let's look and see what's in the top 10.
Okay. We're going to take a look at the top 10. These are the films that you went to see this past weekend, so don't blame us for the chart positions. This is what you paid money for. Okay, at number 10, we have Rudy, the story about the Notre Dame walk-on. It falls from number 6 all the way down to number 10. It's the 4th week in the top 10. Remaining at number 9 for the 7th. For the 7th week in the top 10 is Cool Runnings, inspired by the Jamaican bobsled team in the Olympics.
That's number 5 nationally.
At number 8 is Flesh and Bone, drops from number 4 in its 2nd week of release. At number 7 this week is Look Who's Talking Now, the story, the 3rd in the Look Who's Talking series. It was number 5 last week and has dropped 2 notches. Also, at number 6 is RoboCop 3. It falls out of the top 5 after 1 week. At number 5 this week is Nightmare Before Christmas, the 4th week in the top 5. At number 4 this week is My Life with Michael Keaton. It debuts at number 4. At number 3 this week is Carlito's Way. It debuts at number 3. And at number 2 this week is The Beverly Hillbillies. It falls out of the number 1 position after 4 weeks.
That is still number 6 nationally. People here in Atlanta must be something about this film. Must be attracting them. The Hillbillies, maybe?
I don't know. At number 1 this week is The Three Musketeers. It's the new number 1 film for this week.
All right, that's the Atlanta top 10. Let's get on with the Critics' Choice. Remember, like I said, this week we have our favorite River Phoenix film. Aaron, what are yours?
My favorite River Phoenix films. Well, to start with, my number 3 film came out in 1988, was directed by Richard Benjamin. It was called Little Nikita, starred River Phoenix with Sidney Poitier. River Phoenix is the son of some sleeper Russian spies, and he doesn't find this out until he tries to join ROTC at his high school. My number 2 film came out in 1992, was directed by Phil Alden Robinson, stars Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier again. Sidney Poitier again, and Mary McDonnell, and that is Sneakers. It's a story, we mentioned this last week, a story about a company that is paid to break into security systems, and River Phoenix plays the acrobatic young person that does all of the dirty work. He climbs down tunnels and does various things like that. My number 1 film, River Phoenix film, was Stand By Me. It was directed by Rob Reiner, came out in 1986. It has Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell as well. It's a coming-of-age film. It's adapted from the Stephen King book, The Body. It's about 4 boys who go to see a dead body. And those are my top 3.
All right, I'm going to take this opportunity to give you a River Phoenix filmography real quick here. Phoenix made his debut at age 15 in the 1985 film Explorers. It's about a group of kids who make their own spaceship. About 3/4 of this is all right for the under 15 crowd, but this last part turns into a bad episode of Sigmund the Sea Monster, and anyone over 5 years old will probably want to puke. I actually started cleaning my room when this came on. I give this a half star. His second appearance came in the 86 film Mosquito Coast, which starred Harrison Ford. He plays the son of inventor Allie Fox, who's tired of modern-day life and packs up his family, heads down to the Amazon. This is good for anybody who's ever wanted to take off and just leave society behind, which is something I contemplate doing every now and then. This is the best film Phoenix has been in. As far as I'm concerned, I give it 4 stars. Phoenix's 3rd film came out in 86, also Stand By Me, which is an autobiographical novel of Stephen King. Now, this is not a horror film, like Aaron says. It's a coming-of-age movie. I haven't seen this in a while, and it didn't leave a lasting impression on me, which means I didn't like it, didn't hate it. It was critically acclaimed, and most people who have seen this really love this movie. I'm not going to rate it because I haven't seen it in a while. And then he went on to co-star with Sidney Poitier in Little Nikita, which Aaron told you about also. Little Nikita has a good idea, but it's done in by a bad script as far as I'm concerned. The movie doesn't make much sense, and it falls apart at the end. Get this, Phoenix and his family are reunited at the end and live happily ever after. This is a group of Russian spies living happily ever after in the U.S. And this is all before Glasnost. I'm going to go with just a star on that. Phoenix's first starring role came in the 1988 film Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. This is not a teen sex exploitation film, as the video box leads you to believe. It's kind of a coming-of-age movie, and it's hard to sum up in one sentence, but I really didn't see much of a point to it. The script kind of wanders off into oblivion, which is probably where the film belongs. 1.5 stars there. He did earn an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor in his sixth film called Running on Empty, which came out in 1988. He plays the son of 1960s radicals who have been on the run from the FBI since 1971 when they blew up a napalm lab. Phoenix is tired of running. When he falls in love, he decides to stay put. This is his best performance at that point, and I'd say this is his third best film. I'll go with 3 stars. He then had a cameo in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where he played the Indiana Jones, the Last Crusade, where he played the young Indiana Jones in the opening sequence. I give this 3.5 stars, but not because of River Phoenix. This is not really a River Phoenix film. He had a small supporting role in the 1990 black comedy I Love You to Death, which stars Kevin Kline. This is a Kevin Kline film, and it's only funny when Kevin Kline is in it, which makes it about half of a good movie, because Kline is drugged out, unconscious the second half. Phoenix plays a busboy who works in Kline's restaurant. I give it 1.5 stars. His second starring role was in the Little Scene film called Dogfight, a movie about a group of Marines who have a bet so you can come up with the ugliest date. He ends up falling in love with the girl he finds. She's played by Lily Taylor. I'd say the 4th best River Phoenix film, 3 stars. And his 10th role came in an avant-garde film called My Own Private Idaho, which came out in 1991. This was directed by Gus Van Sant, who's probably the Woody Allen of gay cinema. And it's very prestigious to be in one of his films. He plays a narcoleptic gay hustler and gives an excellent performance, though this film, I'm glad I saw it. I wouldn't want to see it again, and it won't appeal to a lot of people. His only big Hollywood film was the 1992 Sneakers, which had an all-star cast. He plays a group of the security operations that's hired to steal a decoding box from the Russians. This is his second best film and definitely his most mainstream that came out in 92. His last film was Silent Tongue, which came out in 92. I have not seen, and I had not even heard of it until I did this research on River Phoenix, and that's River Phoenix's life.
And he was originally going to be in Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, and obviously isn't anymore.
Exactly.
So that's the River Phoenix films. I'd say
whole
Mosquito.
filmography.
Yeah, I'd say Mosquito Coast, Running on Empty, Dogfight, and Sneakers are the 4 I like the most.
But you've got to see Stand By Me. Stand By Me is good.
I saw it as a young kid. Everybody loves it, though.
So
Right,
let's take a look at our
this is
pay-per-view.
what came out on video releases. We hope. Do we have a graphic this time around? Well, just in case we don't. Anyway, we got Free Willy. We gave that 2.5 stars back when it came out. It's kind of like an E.T. version with a whale, sort of like. Cliffhanger, which was Stallone's latest action adventure, which we gave 2 stars. Lost in Yonkers, which we gave 2.5 stars. That's a Neil Simon film about life in New York City.
It's very similar to other Neil Simon films like Brighton Beach.
Yeah, very similar to King of the Hill also, which was not a Neil Simon film. On Channel 45 pay-per-view this week, we have Excessive Force Posse, which is an artsy Western.
Directed by Mario Van Peebles.
Yes, we give that 3 stars. Cop and a Half, it's good for kids. Adults stay away. It's 1.5. And Sidekicks, which we gave 2 stars, which is also a kid-oriented film. That's what's on pay-per-view.
Each week on Film Forum, we have a special guest. This week is no different. We have Geary Newman. He's a film score composer. We'd like to welcome Geary to the show. Geary?
Thank you.
Very nice to have you on the show.
So you're doing film scoring. You have like an orchestral background?
I do. I started out, first of all, I have my education is that I have a master's degree in music performance from Wichita State University, and started my music career as a freelance trumpet player. And I've been here in town for about 14 years, and since I've been here in town, I've worked many different jobs, everything from playing with the Atlanta Symphony to being in backup groups for Motown groups all up and down the East Coast as a trumpet player.
Okay, let's go ahead and set up this first scene that you've got this clip of some of your work.
Okay.
And so what this is some animation.
That's right. A fellow by the name of Joe Huggins, who runs Imagic 3D Studios here in town, came to me with a short storyboard, and of both of these, and asked me to put together some music. The very first one is an original theme. The second one is a theme that should be obvious to everyone concerned, that underscores what's happening in the action there. The two short clips, computer animation.
Okay, so there are two clips here, and let's go ahead and take a look at some of your work, Gary. All right, and we're back.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are studying music and they're in music, and I don't know how much money there is to be made playing in small symphonies or backup groups for Motown. I know everyone would love to be John Williams or whoever in
Absolutely.
Hollywood making some films. Now, how do you get into this? I mean, it seems like everyone that could play an instrument could get into this if they wanted to.
Well, first of all, you have to be a person that has musical ideas, and a person that has enough training that you can actually get these down into some particular form, whether it's a notational form, actually music or ideas on music paper, and have someone else perform it for you, or what happens most of the time, and what you saw in these two film clips, is a situation to where you use a MIDI studio, which in MIDI is an acrostic for musical instrument digital interface. And this enables you to program a computer to program synthesizers to play out at various points on the music. You then stripe your one part of the tape with a thing called SMPTE timecode. And then after that, you lock what you've done with the computer and what will happen once the computer plays with that SMPTE timecode, and that causes the computer to have your synthesizers play at exactly the correct time on the videotape.
So the SMPTE timecode is kind of like a map.
That's exactly right.
To tell you exactly which point to put the music down and which point to start and which point to finish.
That's right. It is very simple in its concept. It's simply hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. Most of the time it's 30 frames a second. And what you do is you take a video editor machine and you go through and decide where you want to reflect your music.
Marks.
Exactly. And there is some tremendous software out that enables you to actually mark in your computer program where you want to have various events happen. And you mark it as to hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. And at that particular point, whenever that shows up, you know that you had decided that you wanted to do something, whether it was, for instance, a hand clap, or you wanted to have the timpani hit, or whatever. Literally, at this time, one person sits at home and does the work of 30. And whereas before, when I went to school, it was a situation that you pretty much just learned your instrument. Now, you have to be both a composer, have musical ideas. You also have to be a technician and be able to run a studio. Most MIDI composers have in their own home or in their office equipment that would have caused the engineer of just 15, 20 years ago to salivate.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, what I wanted to say is we have another clip where
Right.
you have some SMPTE timecode at the bottom of the screen. This
That's
is
right.
hours, minutes, seconds,
and frames.
and frames. And this is what you use to put this
That's the points of
put
reference.
this music together.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and show this this scene where you've got this going on.
This particular film is an industrial film for Rheem water heaters that we're working on right now, and what you're seeing is a working copy, is a working clip.
Okay, so here's the.
Water. Water is the one drink that quenches this world's thirst for life. Water from the ocean, rivers, streams, from the clouds in the sky, and from the garden hose on the front lawn. Clear, delicious, wet, cold water that we just can't do without. And hot water? Well, we can thank Don and Dick Rheem for bringing the water heater industry to where it is today. The Rheem brothers started with a galvanizing.
We haven't.
Okay, all right.
All right, we're back.
That
We had a
was
little technical.
that was
difficulty
part of your SMPTE time code there. So.
Yes.
Okay, so and what you did there is you marked certain frames and certain scenes.
That's correct. You go through and literally on a piece of paper you write down how long the various parts of the action are, and you decide with the director which parts you want to hit with a particular particular feel or mood of music. It's called hitting a groove.
It's better than just kind of luck of the draw.
No, it is
Music
not.
start
It
the
is
video.
not luck of the draw.
Yeah, I know.
It is
better
not
than,
luck of the draw.
They've eliminated that.
What,
Yeah.
What's it called when you have a dead point, or I'm not sure what the terminology is, but when you want to hit a certain mark?
Well, it is called hitting a mark or a hit point, and you mark that ahead in the music, and you just simply work your music and adjust it to be longer or shorter to where the particular action hits at the particular point that you want whatever event in your music to happen.
What about a classical musical scoring? If you're working on film and versus video, do they lay down those tracks differently?
In the big studios in Hollywood, they still do what is known as dummies, and to where they literally have a full symphony orchestra and they literally play to videotape or play to film and lay down the music like that.
Okay, well, Gary, we're out of time. We want to thank you for being on the show. What's the name of your company again?
Custom Music Arrangements.
Custom Music Arrangements. Thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this installment of Film Forum. Join us next Tuesday when we'll have a special guest involved in the film industry. Our Critics' Choice will be from TV to movies, television adaptations into film, and we'll have 2 feature releases. See you next Tuesday.